All right. Hey, how's it going? This is Greg from howtobuildgames.com. I'm here streaming for Devtober. This is video 3, even though it is day 7 of October. I am not getting every single day in, but I knew I wouldn't from the beginning, and that's why it says, video 3, not day 3 and whatnot. Thanks for joining. Hope some people are watching. I did not announce this on all my social channels as I have previously. I'm still working out some tech issues, as you've probably seen. I'm still getting my auto switcher kind of set up right, so that everything works right. But we're getting there. So, since we were last on, I have not done a tremendous amount because I'm trying to do all of this in the stream. But I did upgrade to Unity 2019.2 from Unity 5.6.5, which I've spent a lot of time on 5.6.5. It was the last stable version for a while. I had a really major code base at the company I started a while back on that, and 30-something published apps on 2 platforms, on each platform, iOS and Android, running on 5.6.5, so I've spent a lot of time on there. Upgraded 2019.2. I didn't do that on the stream because I didn't think it'd be all that interesting, to be honest, and I was right. It kind of gives you some errors and is, do you really want to do this? But the only real thing I ran into were a couple of issues relating to Rider, which is the code editor that I use instead of Visual Studio, which is the default that comes with 2019.2. Once those couple of issues were knocked out, then it was all done, and I basically just had to go in and use a different version of the package manager to pick an older version of the Rider plugin, because I'm not using the latest Rider, because I'm using the perpetual fallback, not the constant subscription thing. But that's irrelevant. So I figured that would kind of be the case, that it would be mostly a non-issue, and you'd just be sitting here watching me be like, well, let's see, and that was the case. So 2019.2 version of Unity's got some nice stuff in it. I haven't played with it a ton. I haven't taken advantage of all the shader editors and the movie editors and all the nice stuff that they've got, but it does have some nice stuff in it. There are some big advantages over 5.6.5. And at this point, 5.6.5 is so outdated, you're going to be losing support for newer iOS versions and bug fixes and things like that if you stick with a really old version of Unity like that. That said, if it's what you got your code base in, you're worried about it, back up the directory, zip it up before you update, use source control, GitHub. I do both of those things. GitHub is good for, let me go back and find that revision where I changed this and broke that piece of code. Zipping the whole thing up is good for, I want to put it in a jump drive and put it in my pocket, go off site, out of town, safety deposit box if you want to do that, upload it to a third-party place somewhere. If you have a major version, you're going to do a major upgrade, something like that. Source control sometimes can kind of get confused if you completely rewrite all your files. And when you upgrade from 5.6.5 to 2019.2, it's probably significant enough it would confuse source control. Anyway, I don't have a ton of time today, and I keep saying that, and I keep doing this. I keep waiting until later in the day, and I won't. Tomorrow I have a meeting with a graphic designer about a different thing. New app coming up. But, even after that. So I'm not going to stream in the morning. I'll still stream in the afternoon, but it'll probably be a couple hours earlier. So, hopefully people are watching. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over into Unity now. If that works, let's just see. Let's minimize that. Well, there is my editor, and there is my Unity. And just to check, everything is... So I got that part working anyway. The code switching back and forth. Auto switcher, I'm using OBS. Open broadcast something or other. That's probably not the real letter. Hopefully audio and video are synced up. Now, I know that's been an issue a couple of times. It does look like I've got the auto switching working with, so that whatever I'm tweaking things back and forth, they will show up as they should. Between here and the code editor, looks like it's switching, so I'm going to go ahead and minimize that so it's not taking up my whole screen. So I am not going to recap the basic idea and how the game works and all that, because I've done that in both of the previous videos. Please go check those out. These videos will be available, forever, as YouTube kind of goes. If I hit play, the gameplay works the same. I do have this set up for iPad Retina. Just because I'm old school, I tend to default to standalone 1024x768 or iPad Retina for the 9.7-inch iPad, and which is exactly double 1024x768. Doesn't matter. My build settings, I'm still set over here on PC Mac standalone. I haven't done anything that is at all even kind of platform specific. You will find, as I have, if you're doing things that you need to on cross-platform, you can do a lot of it in one place, and just put in some specific, hey, if Unity Windows do this, if Unity Android do this, if Unity iOS do this, but 90-something% of your code is going to be identical, which is what I love about Unity. I had a project recently, they were planning to use iPads. The app was done. They came back and said, you know what, we can't use iPads, we got to use Android. Now, if you wrote all that code native, and this is not a game, this is an app, if you wrote all that code native, guess what? You get to write it all over again. Hopefully they would pay you for it and all that. In this case, I was like, oh, okay, what Android are you using? Got the resolution. Okay, took me about 10 minutes to tweak the canvas to adjust to the new resolution, and done. And boom, here you go. Didn't have to start over, didn't take months, whether you're getting paid for it or not, that client still wants that thing done soon. Being able to do it in Unity, switch that stuff over, and in that case, I didn't have to write any platform-specific things. It was just, here, it works. I was using a plugin for Bluetooth communication, worked on iOS and Android, which I knew when I bought it, because I knew Android might be a possibility. So, yeah, it just works. So, what I'm going to do, like I said, I want to start cleaning this thing up. This is a pretty gross programmer art scene. We've got the blocker there that shows up so that you can't click again. If I took off that white semi-transparent block, then you'd just be able to click this forever. That's not what we want. You can see the blockers there showing up as the timers count down. So we need a few more things. We probably need like the 0 second on the timer so that it's not just one, one, one. It should probably say 3, 2, 1, 0, 0, 0 and do the thing, even though it's probably going to be an extra second. Does it really matter? It really doesn't. And I mean, yeah, it really doesn't. We could always start a 3-second timer or 5-second timer to be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 and do it that way if we were really concerned about the user getting their right amount of seconds in. If you make the game fun, that's really not going to be that big of a deal. So right now, like I said, all these are individual objects. The UI, and there's not much of one, was made with Easy GUI, which again I talked a lot about in the previous versions, so I'm not going to talk a lot about it again. We're using that for the main things. Is going to be the sprite text. So the amount of coins. One thing you'll notice is that, yeah, this is all in 3D. So it looks like I've got an orthographic camera there. Otherwise, moving this far back or forward would change the size of it there if we were in perspective. I think that's going to be the case. days. Yeah, so that doesn't matter. So I've got my labels, my coins that says, coins 94. That's in Easy GUI. I'm going to need to change that. Just looking at the rest of the scene. Got the UI manager. That is an Easy GUI thing. That is kind of a basic. You've got one of these per scene. Again, I'm not going to cover that too much because we're moving away from Easy GUI. I'm going to move to Unity's new canvas user interface stuff. Camera pretty much set on defaults except orthogonal or orthographic rather than perspective. Perspective is that you see the perspective, you can see 3 sides of the box. Orthographic is everything is flat, squares are squares no matter how close or far they get. The size is going to change how big things are. Just undo that. Not gonna mess with that. Most of this is default, including the gnarly blue background and the sky box, which we will change as well, but not right now. GUI layer, don't need that anymore, but I'm not gonna remove it right now. Directional light. Once I get proper things in here that are kind of self-lit, not gonna need that anymore either. So, but I'll leave it in there for the moment. My key concern right now is kind of taking a look at this. So this is my button click object. These are the individual things. If I duplicate that, then I can make another one. And I can start clicking it, and it's auto clicking just like the other one was. If I pick one that's not auto clicking yet, I can still do that. I can turn on its auto clicker. I'm probably breaking all kinds of things right now. Looks like the timer did not move, so that may be a separate object. I'm not sure. So right now, like I said, I'm just kind of checking out what are the different pieces that I've got. Okay, so there's some sprite text for the clicker points, the countdown label, the click me button, the UI button 3D. So this is a thing in Easy GUI that's real nice, where you can take dang near anything and turn it into a clickable button by dropping that script on there. Again, at the time when Easy GUI came out 7 or 8 years ago, there was nothing like that. It really makes a huge difference, or it did at the time anyway. Cost blocker, I should probably be looking at one that I did not just completely break. So again, there's the manager that kind of keeps up with all the different pieces. This is the main script. All the rest of these are just kind of dummy objects that don't have scripts. They just kind of, other than that, okay, that's got the unlock auto clicker. And that's for the small thing up here. And then for the ones that don't have the auto clicker, obviously, well, they don't have the auto clicker. Take that out, and that one doesn't have it either. Pretty straightforward. And again, this is all programmer art. This is the last day I'm going to recap everything, because I feel like I'm spending most of my time recapping stuff. So I'm going to stop that soon. Bible items. So here's where I started kind of getting an idea of units. We've got a farmer. I'm not really sure about all this, but not afraid of hard work. Got a coin cost, start chance, max health, health, pugilist. That means likes to punch. I think I say, yeah, like pugilist. It's like an old school word, like Wild West. I'm a pugilist. I'm a boxer. And that's, I don't know why that's in there, but it is. Militiaman is going to be more expensive, higher health. So, same with soldier, and all these are just kind of arbitrary numbers. These coin costs, start chance, max health, health. Should the farmer have 100 health, pugilist 125, the militia 150, and the soldier 250? I have no idea, and it's too early to tell. I'm not a guy that can plug everything into a spreadsheet and run the numbers and and see it. Sometimes I wish I was. Sometimes I'm glad I'm not. I've heard it said no good game is ever really going to be developed on paper. You just kind of got to start somewhere, and later you'll say, oh yeah, this I need to tweak this, I need to tweak that. That's too much. This is not enough. That's how I develop games rather than building everything in a spreadsheet to balance everything. That might be a better way to do it. I enjoy this way more. And it's worked well for me so far. Food items, potato, a funny description that says potato right there. Coin cost, percent boost at the same tier, uses, attached character boost. I don't really remember what all that was for because it's been a while since I worked on it. So initialize game unit script. Here's the Bible items. So let's just take a look. So the basic Bible item, you've got a start chance. Don't know what max chance is for. I've got a basic constructor. Nothing terribly interesting there. Same with food. Nothing terribly interesting there. Oh, look. I did actually... how much is it helping this guy? Percentage comma B. That doesn't help much. Defaults to 1. I've got a lot of notes for this game. I tend to take a lot of notes. I do a lot of notes in NoteShelf, and I do a fair bit of notes in Google Docs and things like that. So I've got different notes in different places that are I need to go back and consult, and we'll do that before the next stream so that I can kind of get my brain back in the game of where it was. But these 4 scripts are kind of that's about all we've got. I've got a base Bible, I've got food, I've got the helper unit, which doesn't do anything yet. A unit, so a little bit of object-oriented stuff. These are the base classes, and I'm not a super by-the-book, object-oriented, professionally trained guy. So, some of these things may not be best practices. I'm not worried about it. I want my games to be fun and to work. Beyond that, if they're not best practices, I don't care, to be honest. Anyway, so button click object, clicker MCP, in-game units. Looks like we create some units, we create some items. So we are creating the unit called the farmer over here. This is not really a good way to do it, but at the time when I did it, it was the best way I knew how. So, create item unit. What's the type and what's the tier? So we're going to create an empty game object. If what we're creating is a unit, then add the unit script to that game object. And since we're getting a reference to the script here, we can then refer to it again here and initialize that unit in that class. Set the name, and then set the transform game object transform set parent to current game object transform. We'll set it to be a child of the current game object as that says. So let's hit play and see what that does. So now you see right there that popped up with some game objects. So there are our 3 basic creations that are fired up when we start. We can go in and let's say we wanted to add a couple more items. We wanted to create item soldier tier 2. food in there yet, but create item food. Actually, I'm not going to do that yet. I may end up rewriting all this. And that's the thing, some of these games, you work on an idea for a while, and I think I worked on this one 3 or 4 years ago, but I still know a lot more today than I did then. If you're working with Unity or something like that on a constant basis, that's just going to be the case. You're going to revisit old projects after a few years and go, what the heck was I thinking? Why did I do it that way? That's not the right way to do that. I know a much better way to do that. I put a little bit of comments in here. They say you should comment your code like a violent psychopath is going to be the one doing the code review in 6 months. It's a good idea for real simple code. I mean, if I sat down and really looked at this, there's not really enough code here to be really confusing. For much code that's very long, yeah, you're gonna want to comment it well. Again, this is all pretty straightforward. I've got my debug mode stuff so that it will say, hey, I'm inside this. Hey, I'm doing that. My clicker MCP. So it looks like I've got tags that are set up. We're adding things to the score. If debug mode, we will put things there just so that we know they're right. Attempt to unlock. So, got some random error messages. There's some warnings. That kind of thing is not terribly uncommon when you upgrade a really old project to a new version. Really not worried about it. It's not that big of a deal. So, what to do? So, I think the direction I'm going to take this is, right now in the Humble Bundle, there is an asset store. There's some different assets for a trading card game. While this is not going to be a trading card game, looking at those assets, it's a lot of character avatars or icons. It's a lot of monsters, avatars, icons, some weapon avatars and icons and things like that. Well, not weapon avatars, but you get the idea. Some different character portraits. I think using some of those will kind of give me a better on-screen representation of what I'm trying to do. This is not pretty, and I know that, and it's programmer art, and that's fine. There are better ways to do this. The thing I'm going to have to kind of figure out is, and really a lot of what I was doing here is going to be easier done in the new UI system. I've got the pay to unlock button. I've got behind that, I've got the block, the clicks button, and then I've got the actual click thing, and then I've got the default numbers here, and all those get set up once the game starts. So this script takes care of everything. This is the score value, the purchase cost, the upgrade cost, the auto clicker cost, the time created, cooldown time. So if I want to make a second one of one of these, it looks like I was not paying enough attention, so they're defaulted to down here rather than up at the object where they should be. So, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to duplicate that by selecting it, hit Control D, Command D on the Mac. I'm going to use that to move it down just a little bit. And then let's say I want to tweak this one just a little bit. Let's not. Let's take, I've got 1, 2, and 3. Let's duplicate number 3, and let's put 1 in between here. And it's going to be 4 and 8 and 75 and 7. So it's not super duper different. Okay, it looks like it did not have the price there changing. So that's one thing I had not gotten around to. I think the auto clickers were one of the last things that I did before I quit working on the game. This should be setting itself from there. When I redo the new one, that will be the case. For now, I've got to set that manually. And for now, it doesn't matter that this kind of has the same name. Prefab paid 2 with auto clicker because the name doesn't really affect anything. So, and if I want to go to my game manager and give myself more coins, something like that, I can do that. All of a sudden, I've got more coins. I've got enough to do things. And then that clicker works just like all the others. If I wait, I'll do them all 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can kind of see the time counting down. Or if you're smart, you would do it in reverse order. So by the time you get back to the first one, you've only got 6 seconds to wait. Actually, that's a suck way of doing that. Don't do it like that. So this goes blank to show you can't purchase that anymore. Optimally, when you purchase it, it would trigger. I think maybe I didn't know how to do that at the time, so I didn't. What I'm really curious to see is if I get 75 coins, if this lights up, and it does, and the auto clicker is there. So that makes me really happy, and let's make sure that when it gets to 1 that it adds the coins and it resets. It does. So the significance of that is that this code was well written. Other than that one little piece where this did not change the value there, the hard-coded 100 to 75, and that's a really easy change if I wanted to change it. I just took that, duplicated it, moved it, and I was able to recreate it, or not recreate. Well, yeah, recreate and change something in the middle very easily. So if I had, if I wanted to take these as well and redo those to say, oh, well, we don't just have that, we've got several rows of clickers that we can do. And so now you've got something, and I'm going to save this out, and I'm going to save this scene as test click and block 07, upgraded to 2019. I like to use kind of long scene names sometimes, and I've got different scenes that kind of go back, kind of show the progression as I click through the different scenes. You can see where I added the auto clickers and stuff. So check this out. So I just took those 3 and duplicated them, and so it's going to be 1 and 2 and the extra. But now, is it working? Is it not? No, I think I've really confused it. I think there's a manager somewhere that's like, oh, it's not working. No, that's right. And it's working. And by the time you click, the next ones are clickable. It needs to, it needs to have better graphics. Like I said, you go from $6 is the price, whereas this says coins. And I click that, and okay, well, the 6 turned to 3. Well, what the heck? Is it 6? Is it 3? Wait, the 8 turned to 4. And so that should show, that this is a timer. This is how many points you're going to get, things like that. So, this is that many coins. Here's your unlock cost. That's an unlock cost, 25, whereas 3 is how many, and points is your coins really is what that is that you're going to get. And so yeah, and it's pretty terrible, but this was not meant for anybody to really see. This is meant for my benefit, and I know that, well, yeah, this and that are different than that, and that it says points but it says coins. And that's just kind of part of the process. You work your way through. It doesn't have to be super fancy at the beginning. It doesn't need to be. I'm unlocking more auto clickers. You can get so far, before you really need to start worrying about, let's get the verbiage right. Let's get it, saying coins in the same place. We want it, showing coins everywhere and not dollar signs and points and coins. And that's valid, but not at this point. At this point, I'm still kind of exploring the idea to see, is it even worth doing? Is it even worth pursuing? Some kind of an error message popping up there. It's probably when I'm clicking and I shouldn't be. It's angry about that. Oh, I think I see what it is. I'm going to Control-Shift-P when I do it again. And it's index out of range. So, what index is out of range? I have an idea. Active button count equals get the click button object when we attempt to unlock. I think that has to do with active buttons. I don't think. Okay, this is in the MCP. So my MCP does actually have all those crazy things in it. All the clickers. Index was outside the bounds. I'm not sure what the issue there is. Just off the top of my head, and I'm not going to spend your time going over that. Looks like most of the rest of this is working though. Let's see if this gives an error. I'm going to turn off debugs and warnings. Try that. Nope, that didn't work either. So there's some kind of an issue with the auto-click system that, and it's taking the coins. Auto-click cost blocker. These are all hitting different things. Oh, we've got a button that's missing here. That's problematic. That's probably what the issue is then, is it's checking this object and it's like, hey, there's something not right there. So, well, let's see. But you get the general idea. With a small amount of effort, I've taken, 6 buttons and added 9 more in there. So, and I may end up just kind of rewriting all this code. Probably not. I'll probably try to use what's there, but I could probably take a couple hours and rewrite that. And I probably won't do that on the stream. I'm still kind of trying to figure out what's good on the stream. I think the short-ish streams, 20 or 30 minutes, are probably good. I don't think people want to watch me code and talk to myself for an hour or two at a time, like Twitch. But let me know as I throw out, useful and semi-useful and not at all useful things and movie quotes. Would you rather see the whole process? Now, with some of the stuff that I do, some of the game development tutorials, I'm going to show you start to finish. I'm not going to exclude any steps. This is more kind of a ride along with me as I get refamiliar with this project, figure out what the heck I want to do with it. And by the end of the month, I'm going to have something that, even simplistic, will be playable and fun, to some degree. I will. There may not be much to it. It may not be fun for more than about 10 seconds, but this is going to look nicer. It's going to work better. I've got it converted to Unity 2019. I'm going to have it working on the new UI system. And I'll have a little bit more of a game where you can actually, get some things, plant some things, harvest some things after a certain amount of time, which is what these timers are really going to be for. They're going to be timers like Farmville, and I planted the potatoes, and it takes this long. And instead of a countdown, I'll probably have a pie chart or a graph or something, a circle that goes around, or a timer that counts down, rather than this. That counts down, says, hey, this is ready, and then use those things to equip the people to feed an army, hence the name. So that is what I will have by the end of the month. So let me know, like I said, if you would prefer to see the longer, unedited, if you want to watch me do this for an hour or two at a time, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not, please. Let me know what you'd like to see here. Let me know where you're at on your game dev journey. And I'll be back tomorrow with more game development. Thanks for joining me. I'm Greg with How to Build Games. Check in tomorrow for Devtober Video 4.